Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the 3 Count Podcast. I'm your host, Big Papa Trav.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Grant, and I was on episode 4 and another one, and I'm back.
And today we're doing a new show. We're just gonna be talking about just some news or just the state of wrestling today. This is a new show. This is a new show to mine. I'm gonna have different hosts, and today I'm just bringing in Grant. Grant's he's a new addition to the three Count Podcast, and he does a show with Golden. You guys know him from the main show that we do, the SmackDown and Raw show. And so we just want to talk today, just kind of freely about kind of the state of wrestling today, where everybody's just kind of getting down on WWE. Everybody's saying that AEW.
It's all about that AEW now.
I know, and today, I think AEW is on the rise. I don't have nothing bad to say about them, but there's a lot of people out there that is just thinking that they are the kings right now, and I can't go with that. I can't say that they are, and the only thing that I can say, me personally, is that regardless of what WWE's product is, they are still the number ones and they are the bar setters.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you because AEW, they have a very good reputation for being, they're very new, and they had a really good start so far. But over time, if they ever decline, which hopefully that won't happen, because, the WWE, they had their ups and downs over the years, but, the AEW, might, if it does go downhill, I think it'll be, of course it'll be a lot less interest, because, I want to be as good as it started, which with, it's just most things that are relevant in the first place,
Well, Grant, I mean, they've only had one show. They've only had one show.
So it's hard to judge them.
Yeah, so, I mean, they had a great show. They had a great one. I mean, it was spectacular. But where do you go from there? I mean, you got...
Yeah, I mean, it's not enough to prove, It's not enough to prove that it's better than WWE. Sorry to cut you off there, Travis.
No, that's okay because I was cutting you off. But that's not enough to prove that they're number one. What it is enough to prove is that there's something to watch out. That's something that look at these kids, man. What's going on? That should be something that Vince McMahon and the WWE head honchos, the board directors, whoever it is, needs to be like, we need to do something. Because, look at these guys here.
I totally agree. Like, it could be, just start out as a little bit of banter between companies, or it could go, into competition, Actually, I think it is probably, it is in competition, but let's say in the next 10 years, when AEW, let's say if it does really well in the next 5 to 10 years or so, we still got WWE, they're doing their thing, there's probably gonna be, more people that they preference one over the other, they do now, but they're more there's more competition and stuff, and then we got New Japan and other wrestling organizations down there below them.
Well, like with what it, I see. I don't know. Here's what I think is that it's not going to be any competition. That AEW is no competition with them, and I don't think that there's going to be another Monday Night Wars or like there was with WCW, because when WCW came into the picture with Monday Nitro, WCW was really already an established company. Okay? Yeah. See, they had been around just pretty much as long as WWE or WWF at the time. It's just Now they had the backing of Ted Turner, which was some buku bucks. And they already had established stars. Now, don't get me wrong. AEW, they have established stars. They have, and they have some up-and-comers. Some of their established stars, which are, there's some older stars like Chris Jericho. And some new up-and-coming stars, which are stars of the future, like Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, that have wrestled in some of these other companies that are out there and have made names for themselves. So AEW is a company on the rise, but I don't think they will ever be competition.
Competing.
Yeah, I don't think they will. And I don't think they need to be. I think that, and this is what I've said from get-go on all the shows that we've done, is that they just need to stay in their own lane and just do their thing and not worry about WWE. They took their shots at WWE on their first pay-per-view, and that's it. That's all they need to do. That they're fine. They've done it. That's it. Because WWE, they said one thing about them. One thing. And that's all. That's it. They don't need to say anything else. You know why? Because AEW right now is just a fly on the big horse of WWE. And that they mean nothing to them. And maybe one day they'll get WWE's attention, as far as maybe.
I'm surprised they haven't already.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about money wise. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, financially.
Yeah, maybe they'll start eating at them a little bit. I know some of their stars want to go to them because of a lot of their a lot of the freedoms that they're giving them.
Oh yeah. I heard they made a lot of promises towards a lot of or I guess more. I guess some for what they in AEW contracts and in their WWE contracts, but I don't really know much about that, but sorry, continue.
Well, no, it's okay. No, speak your mind, man, because, well, like if you look at Jon Moxley, or former Dean Ambrose, I mean, he's got the freedom. He's right now going in New Japan. He's winning their belts, and he's able to work in other promotions, and he has these freedoms, which WWE won't let you do that. They're like, you're working for us, and that's it. Which I think if WWE did let you do that, they do. Don't get me wrong. They let some of their people, none of their bigger stars, but some of their people, they let kind of, work some of the independent things. But it's more of the places that have kind of, friendships with WWE, but they're not like quote unquote tied. They're cool with WWE. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I know this is sort of off topic, but I think with Jon Moxley, I think he likes New Japan because to me it seems like they treat it more as a sport. And it's less improvised than WWE, but
Well, let me stop you there. Everything that you see in wrestling it's all called.
Yeah.
It's all quote unquote what the layman's term scripted. Okay. So it might look a lot rougher, but that's just good wrestling. Okay.
It's also good writing.
It's just good wrestling because they're not going out there purposely to hurt themselves. Now that's backyard wrestling. When you go out there to purposely hurt somebody, that's backyard wrestling. That's shooting on somebody. That's a real fight. Yeah. And that's not what you do, because you want that person to be able to wrestle the next night, just like you want to be able to wrestle the next night. And yeah, the worse something actually looks like, it doesn't usually hurt as bad as it looks coming from a professional
Yeah.
wrestler, And I did this stuff for many years. You know?
Yeah, plus, watching you, it was even, a bit, it was a bit called for, when you were doing it, it's probably all called for. I think you mentioned that, and, if it wasn't, probably things could go a lot differently because, it was, a professional wrestling organization.
Well, yes. I mean, okay. You never want to try, and trust me, I've tried to do this with other people, and it never. If you try to script a match from like every move from beginning to end, it never works out because you're gonna forget something. It never fails. So you want to know bullet points of a match. You want to know a beginning, middle, and end. You want to know, okay, I want to hit this spot and this spot, whatever. But then you just call it as as the story needs to be told in the ring. If you see the fans start maybe slowing down, you want to pull a high spot, pull something that's going to draw them back in, make them get loud again. And that's how you do a match. And real professionals will know how to work the crowd, and that's what basically wrestling is storytelling. Okay, and that's really, like I said, what wrestling is all about. And a good professional will be able to tell that story and make stuff look devastating, make it look like you're getting killed, and really you're not. They're taking care of you. It's like a dance in there, man. It is like a dance. Two ballet
just gotta
dancers.
Play ball.
Yeah, two ballet dancers are in there taking care of you. And like when somebody's doing I don't know, like a move off the top rope, I'm trying to think of the name of it right now. It's slipping my mind. But like a flip off the top rope, and somebody's right. The person that looks like they're doing the move, they're the ones not actually doing the move. It's the person actually receiving the move that's taking care of the person doing the move, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I could, especially in the WWE, kind of see that because, when people, let's say, they get on, I don't know what you call it, when they're on the ring and they, I'm just going to say if they go on like top row or whatever, usually they're going to be intercepted I'm not saying all the time they're going to be intercepted, or I don't know if that's a good way of wording it, because, but there, something's going to happen with, the guy at the bottom. It seems like, even though, usually, I guess it, they get kicked in the face or whatever, or they just land on the guy who was at the bottom, which, I think...
Well, do you have an example that maybe I can help walk you through?
Well, I'm just thinking, when...
like maybe tonight?
Somebody, like
maybe on tonight's show? Because I think I know what you're going through, if Kofi Kingston.
Kofi and or actually even with Woods and forgot his name. Dolph Ziggler, Xavier Woods. I think I remember seeing I think Dolph Ziggler did something like that to Xavier Woods, where he sort of, I don't know if he attempted to land on him away. Well, I think, he did sort of. And then eventually Woods kind of got on top of him. He almost had him pinned there. But then, Ziggler, he got out of that.
I'm trying.
I don't know, it's kind of a bad example.
I think I remember that part in the match today, but I I think it was during a spot when after Kofi had, or not Kofi, I'm sorry, um right after Xavier Woods had jumped out and landed on all the people outside of the ring to because Kevin Owens.
Oh, especially when Xavier Woods. Remember, I think he sort of like he got Ziggler out of the ring, and then like what he did to Ziggler is like he kind of he's standing on the ring lines, and he jumped on Ziggler.
Yeah, he jumped, and see what they're out there, what happens is when he does that jump, right? Is they're out there to catch him when he does that, and if they don't go out there and catch him, that's gonna hurt. And I've seen wrestlers, especially Kofi Kingston, he does this move where he jumps backwards and he flies, and sometimes people almost miss him. And I've seen where they haven't caught him, and they barely like touch him, and so he's just diving backwards off the top rope. And so yeah, basically they're out there to catch him, even though it looks like he's doing the move. They're actually just there to catch him, and so it just becomes a dance, like I say, man. And but things look so devastating, and even though it looks like one organization is doing something a little bit, or not a little bit, but rougher than the other, it's not.
Plus, in all these organizations, like, it's like, especially, what Kofi did, it's not like a stunt. Like, these guys, they've probably done it, tons of times before, and they train all the time. And they probably, go through the same thing over and over again, even though they probably, improvise a little bit on it. I'm just, I think they probably have to, get a good grip of it before they usually, before it goes down, like, especially in, like, Monday Night Raw or, in SmackDown.
Well, Grant, here's the thing. Big spots like that, you're going to practice over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But come match time, you can't ever guarantee how it's going to go down. You're going to practice and do the best that you can and hope to God that it goes the way that it's supposed to go, because, if you don't, and things can happen. I mean, there's been a lot of accidents in the ring where, people end up paralyzed. Like, there's a wrestler, his name is Darren Drozdov, used to be known as, I think, Droz. He ended up, a simple move, ended up paralyzed. He's a quadriplegic now.
Oh,
he used to play for the Denver Broncos and went into WWE. Simple little move. Paralyzed. Quadriplegic. Owen Wilson, Bret the Hitman Hart's brother, he did a stunt that he did many, 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 many times. He hated doing it, but they did it many, many, many times. And was parasailing, I think is the word. Well, he was dropping down from the rafters in a stunt with the as the Blue Blazer, and went a little bit too early, and unfortunately he passed away. So things can things can happen in the ring, even if you've done them a million times. So you do the best that you can, and you hope that other person is there to catch you and do what they can for you. And but things do happen, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. This is why WWE doesn't do pile drivers anymore, is because of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Because Owen Hart and him were doing a match, and his neck slipped out, and he ended up getting messed up neck, broken neck from it. And luckily he didn't get paralyzed. He was able to finish the match, and then he got his neck fixed, but it was never the same. and he wrestled like a couple more years and then had to retire early because of that. But now
that's unfortunate.
Yeah, there's only 2 people that are even allowed to do any pile driver like move, and that's the Undertaker and Kane, and that's the Tombstone pile driver. But nobody else is allowed to in the whole WWE because
I didn't even know about that.
Yeah,
like I thought anybody could attempt a pile driver in the WWE.
Nope, and it's all.
I think they used to back then, but
yeah, I mean that was a big finisher back in the day, but nobody can now, and because it can hurt you just by a little slip, and that's again the reason why you as a professional wrestler take care of each other. But I mean that's just how it is, man, and but again, I mean I think we've veered off a topic, but I mean I like this discussion because for me as an ex-wrestler, I like talking about this because it gives the fans an insight to what professional wrestling is, because people say that it's fake.
Yeah.
And even though the veil has been lifted, people still to this day say, "Oh, it's fake," because you know who's gonna win, you know who's gonna lose, but it's not fake. And I still get mad when I hear that because even from a little kid, I never believed that it was fake. And when I found out that it was, you found out who's gonna win, who was gonna lose, that kind of hurt my feelings. And it kind of broke the veil. But when I became a professional wrestler, I understood the difference, because you can't fake these falls. I mean, people think that that's a trampoline under there. It is not. That ring is steel.
That's some hard floor.
Yeah, it's made of steel and
floor is probably concrete. Well, it depends.
No. This is how a ring is. Most professional rings are made of steel, iron, and then plywood, and then maybe some foam mats to cover up that plywood, and then you got your apron to go over top of it, and then that's it. That's the only thing. So you got plywood and maybe thin carpet. That's it on top of the plywood.
I was looking at some rings online, and like they sold like the mats for them. They also sold like the overlays for them, or I guess you're saying the aprons. But there's some. I mean, once like with professional wrestling, I don't know if they probably keep the rings like kept up for shows. Like I don't think they take them down really, put them up, but I wouldn't know that because I don't know what really goes on.
Well, yeah, they do. I mean, with professional wrestling, rings, like with us, they go up, they come down, and then they go back to the school, and then they go. And then with WWE, they go up for the show, they come down at the end of the show, they go to the next show. So they're bam, bam, bam. And WWE cool. has multiples because they're going different places, obviously.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're coming up, they're coming down, they're coming up, coming down. I mean, with us, we had one ring. We had the practice. We took our practice ring down. Well, I don't know why I say practice ring, because it's the same ring. So we took our ring down after our last practice, and then we put it up at the show. After the show was done, we tore it down and went. And then the next Monday for practice, we put it up on practice day, and then went right into practice. So I mean, that thing it sucks, man. And then like on cold days, that thing does not forgive, because we had our thing, like Bret Hart, they had the dungeon, and we had, I don't remember our name of ours, but it was something along the lines of the dungeon type. It was one of those names, but it was like in this garage type thing, and it got cold in the winters, and man, I think did not forgive. I mean, we try to put some space heaters up and stuff like that to warm up the ring. But, man, that iron was just like, you take a bump, and a bump is a fall in the wrestling business. And that thing was just like, you took it and you're like, just like knocked the wind out of you, man. I'm telling you. You're just like, oh, I can't do this. I quit. I don't want to do this no more. But then you just know that you love the sport. You're just like, all right, I love this too much. This is me again. I love it, you know.
Yeah, it's a pretty good advice for somebody who's about to start out.
Yeah, I mean, and I tell you, like, there's one thing, like, that I can tell, and this, anybody, and I discussed with you the other day, was it last night, maybe, when we were talking about
this, I think it was.
That people that think that they're in shape, bodybuilders.
Yeah.
There's two different things. You know, you wonder why, man. How is this guy who is like 400 pounds, fat guy, able to do this? There's two different shapes. There's being in shape, and then there's ring shape. And I'm telling you, Grant, I kid you not, I've seen guys in there that are bodybuilders, cut, going in there, try to run ropes, and then they puke after like 1 minute. And then there's guys in there that are like 400 pounds that can just run the ropes like nothing. 5 minutes of running ropes because they're in what's called ring shape.
Yeah.
And there's a major difference. Ring shape versus being in shape. You know, yeah, if you can be in shape and then be in ring shape, oh man, you got it made. And that's what a lot of these WWE stars have. They're in shape and they're in ring shape because, you know, if you can't run ropes, you can't be in professional wrestling. If you can't be in ring shape, then you're done because, man, that's why wrestlers you see are constantly moving, and then it's cardio. That's what professional wrestling is all about. And I look at all these organizations, and people are like, why are they doing all these rest holds? Because it gets tiring in there, and you're under these hot lights, and people look at the last WWE show, right? And people are like, oh, it was so horrible. Well, they don't realize, like, and WWE kept trying to emphasize how hot it was in there. Like, it was outside temperature was 90-something degrees in there. Inside the ring, they were saying it was like 110 degrees. Well, if it's 110 degrees in the ring, right? Think about how much hotter you are once you start wrestling and you got those lights on you and you got your body temperature up. Oh my God. Like, one time, I'm gonna tell you this. This is a story, and I'm digressing here, but this goes back to my football playing days. I was at football camp, many moons ago. I was at football camp, and we were playing in this, like, it was kind of like this bowl. That's the best way I can describe it. It was sunken football field, and it was outside temperature. That it was like the hottest summer, and I kid you not, like, I never wanted to play football ever again. But it was like outside, it was like 120 or something. Like, it was hot, and we had full pads on. So I don't know. I couldn't even imagine. I didn't know how hot it was inside the bowl that we were playing in football in gear, running around. I mean, like, they were having like buckets of ice constantly brought in. People were passing out. Like, man, it was crazy. So I sympathize with the people that were wrestling in there. You know, did the matches suck? They weren't the greatest. But I do sympathize with people like The Undertaker and Goldberg. They should not have been wrestling, and I'm glad that they called that match. Word on the street.
Yeah, plus, you know, in Jeddah, like, I heard it was, like, really hot that night.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
In Jeddah.
That's what I was saying.
And, they kept referring to the heat, you know, and maybe, you know, probably, I guess, people would enjoy the Undertaker and Goldberg match, I guess, because, and, better, air conditioning, or, well, not air conditioning, because most of the, places that they hold the rings in,
like had
I think, don't have an overlay.
Yeah, had it been like in an arena or something.
Yeah, so, and plus, those guys, they're getting older.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And, when you're older, the heat is going to be hard on you, and you're constantly doing something, and, it was, like, when they did it before, when it went down, it probably went way better, like, when they were doing it, but, in Jeddah, yeah, the heat was probably, I didn't realize that until you pointed that out, even though, actually, I think you mentioned something like that earlier.
Well,
that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and to top it off, I think everybody would have enjoyed if all the cards would have aligned, right? If Goldberg wouldn't have knocked himself stupid, I mean, the man does not need to be hitting his head on the door or lockers anymore. The gimmick is old. You don't need to be doing that before you come out. I mean, the man was already bleeding before he came out of the locker room. I mean, that's his gimmick. That's his stick. You know what I mean? He's been doing that since day one. But he doesn't need to be doing that. And then he goes and knocks himself into what do they call it?
Yeah, there's not much of a purpose anymore because, it doesn't really, like for his character arc, it doesn't really, destroy it if you stop doing that, just want to be...
Well, I mean, he doesn't, he's 50 years old, 50-some years old, 40-some years old now. He does not need to be hitting his head on the things. I mean, he did that when he was in football or whatever, but, I mean, that's not his... He doesn't need to do that no more. He's over. He doesn't need to do that. But, I mean, he knocked himself on the turnbuckle thing where he was just gushing blood. Like, everybody thought he bladed, but no, he actually ripped himself open what's called the hard way. Where,
oh, man.
Yeah. So, when he hit the turnbuckle and he got the concussion. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. When he got the concussion from the turnbuckle. They should have ended the match right then. They should have just went what's called going home. They should have did it then. But, they tried to keep it going. And when they did that, unfortunately, with the heat and all the blood gushing, and, I'm not trying to make excuses. I mean, I know it sounds like that I'm making excuses for them, but I sympathize, because I know what it feels like to be in that position. You know what I mean? And so,
I can't really imagine, being in a big position like that, and you've been doing something for many years, but you're just getting old.
Yeah, I mean, I just sympathize with them, honestly, and a lot of people just get down on them, and I just sympathize with them, really. And so it's not about making excuses. I just know I've been in those types of positions. I can't say that I can't say that I've wrestled. I've wrestled in heat outside in pay-per-views. Or not pay-per-views. What am I saying? I've wrestled in outside at
PWF had pay-per-views.
Kinda. But I mean, people had to come and pay to see us, and we had a TV show. But no, at carnivals, there we go. We had wrestled outside at carnivals and fairs and stuff like that, and in the blazing sun. And we didn't have like a cloth mat. We had what type of mat is that? Like almost like a leathery type mat. So nobody wanted to take a bump if you didn't have a shirt or something on, because that stuff was hot. So nobody.
They should have got a cloth mat.
Yeah, well, they didn't. I don't know why, but they didn't. It was, I guess, because it didn't shine or something. I don't know, but nobody wanted to take bumps when we were outside in the summer doing our summer tours, because our summer tours were practicing tours, right? And that's what a lot of the independents do. Not like they hone their characters, like when they're building new characters. Like, okay, so independents, right? Not to say WWE, but like a lot of these independent things that every state has, right? They take their characters and they do tours around their states or however they go, right? They have a main place where they wrestle, and then they do tours where they're building up that character, so when they come back to their main home spot, they've got that character built up so good that when the people that have seen them over the tours, they come back, they know where this character's coming from. Because that's what I did before I ended up having to retire. We did a tour all that summer, building up this character. Like, we started it at the end of the season with the Machiavelli character, which, trust me, I did not want that name. I did not.
Yeah, I prefer Trade Dog. Like, yeah, I could tell you're mad when they're Machiavelli.
Yeah, well, it is what it is, and you know, they could have changed it later, and I knew I was going to eventually. I was gonna shorten it, but you know, we started running with it, and I started working out this cool suit and had the braids, and it was gonna be this like character.
Oh, you have the shades, and you got the blue suit on, or not suit.
And I was gonna have a stable of people behind me, and it was just gonna be like this. I was running this crew, and I had people do dirt for me. It was gonna be cool.
You're looking all rich.
Yeah, like I was gonna be like, you know, come out like, you told me not to start a war till I have my money right, and blah blah blah. And, you know, it was, dude. I had this whole gimmick going, man. But you know, my back gave out, and I couldn't do it no more. And it is what it is, and it be what it be. You know, but and it you know, things go the way it goes. You know what I mean? And so
yeah.
So yeah, but that's how wrestling organizations do, and I think maybe like if you look at the old days of WWE, right? Well, this is maybe way before your time, but WWE.
Oh yeah,
WWE used to take their shows, their house shows, and I haven't been to one in a long time, and I admit that. But the last time I went to a house show, they didn't have their wrestlers go out and meet their fans during intermission. I don't even remember there being an intermission, to tell you the truth. I just remember them doing just a straight up show and then leaving. And so
it was just back in the WWF days.
No, there was still no. The last time I went to a house show, when I wasn't even wrestling, because I got to do an actual show. I got to wrestle for WWE, so as a dark match, but as a fan, my ex gave me some surprise tickets. I took one of my stepsons to a show, and we watched it, and there was no intermission, and they just went straight up, wrestled, and then they left. That was it. That was the end of the show. I went to some Raw tapings. There was no intermission. I've worked security. I've been to some shows.
Nice.
I've done a lot of stuff when it comes to WWE. So
yeah, you probably know the business pretty well then, or how it was.
Yeah, but the best times they ever had was when they used to go on tour, and they used to have intermissions. They would have contests and stuff like that. They would have interactions with the fans, and the wrestlers would meet the fans. And we used to do that as our organizations. We would have our intermissions. We would have signings with the fans, stuff like that. And I think that's where WWE needs to get together bigger. So maybe it's a little bit harder for the people to meet with the fans, or the bigger stars to meet with the fans and stuff. I know the Undertaker never came out because that was his gimmick, you know, but all the other wrestlers came out, and I think they need to get back to the grassroots of things. I think I think the organizations need to. I think they need to get back to the grassroots and find themselves again. They need to do what Shawn Michaels said back in the day. They need to find their smile. If you know what I'm saying. And so
yeah,
and I
definitely agree.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of organizations are missing. And if WWE can find their smile again, I think they're gonna be back on. They're always gonna be on top. So I don't want to say on top, but I think they're gonna find their product that people are gonna like. I think they need to get some writers in there that know the business that the fans want to see, and not what they think the board of directors want to see. You know, I think there's a lot of things that right now they write their scripts. Like back in the day, they used to let the wrestlers do their own promos, but now they don't. They make the wrestlers learn the scripts. So
yeah, I didn't even know they let the wrestlers make their own promos. That's pretty cool, actually. I thought it's always been a corporate thing.
No, wrestlers like Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock and Undertaker and stuff like that, they always did their own promos. You know, and that's how Stone Cold and The Rock and stuff like that became big, was because they knew how to talk on the mic, and that's how wrestlers, if you couldn't talk on the mic, you weren't going to make it in the business. You know, you either went out there and you cut a good promo, or you went out there and you fell on your face.
Like, yeah, I'm going to do some acting lessons, actually.
Yeah. You take promo lessons. And if you can't go out there and you can't have mic skills, you can't talk, then that crowd is going to eat you up. Ronda Rousey, she had people right for her, and she still got ate up on the mic. You know?
Yeah.
So if you can't have that gift of gab, man, and I got that, I can talk. As people can hear, and you know, I can talk. And it takes that special person to be able to.
I'm more shy.
Yeah, and I think that if they let the boys and girls go and let them fall on their face, then they're going to be able to learn and get a better product from. The fans will appreciate it a lot more, and you'll get a better product, just like back in the Attitude Era, which that was everybody's loves that era. Everybody says that's the best era of wrestling. You know, for me, I personally like this era for women's wrestling. I'm the biggest proponent.
It's much better than it was. I think 20 like to 40 years ago. I think it's got it got a lot better, because the whole thing when they're calling them, I don't know if they're still calling them WWF Divas or WWE Divas or not, but
no, it's the women.
I think it's a lot.
It's the women.
Yeah, it's a lot better now.
Yeah, and I think maybe on our next show we'll talk about the women's revolution. I think this is good place to wrap it up, because I can get all into the women's division, because me personally, like I don't want to get too much into it right now, but I think the women's division has it a lot better than the men's. And personally,
now it definitely does. I think. Yeah.
I tune in right now for the women's division, not because they're eye candy and beautiful and yada yada. I mean, that's what I tuned in.
Well, that's why I tuned in.
Well, I tuned in for that for when they were divas. But now
I think that was the main purpose of Divas.
Yeah, but now I tune in not only because they're beautiful women, but because they can work in the ring. But I like I said, we want this new show here to be just an all around show, just where we can talk about anything in wrestling, and we can just go off. Let our minds just wander.
Like depending, it's going straight on, Raw, SmackDown, anything like that, or just talking like this.
Yeah, this show is just a whatever show, and I think that's what everybody wants to hear, because this show is a show about wrestling. Whatever people want to hear, whatever people want to talk about.
All aspects.
Yeah, because if you want to hear or talk about anything, let me know. Let Big Papa know. You can contact me on Discord You can contact me at leave some comments down below. However you want to contact me, find me.
Yeah,
you can find me
we'll
on.
definitely make sure to reply to those comments.
You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Discord. You can find me on. I'll put them in the comments. I'll put them, link them down below. You can find. I'll tell you where you can find me. I'll put them wherever. Grant.
We start linking in the description actually.
But whatever you want us to talk about, we'll talk about it on this show. This is going to be a show that we're going to have now on, what is this, Wednesday nights? This is going to be on Wednesday nights from now on. So this is going to be the new Wednesday night show. This is going to be the Travis's podcast right now. So the three count podcast that Travis presents. All right. So everybody, put your comments below what you want to talk about on this next show, and we'll talk about it. So Grant, I'd like to thank you for being my first guest. I know you gotta go. I know you got some personal things you gotta deal with. It's been a real pleasure being on here. So thank you for coming through. And
thanks for having me, man.
All right, man.
Anytime.
All right, we'll talk with you later. And
all right, see you, man.
Everybody, you guys have a good night. Thank you for coming to my first show. And
you guys better subscribe.
All right, you guys, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Tell all your peoples. Hit that.
You better hit that bell.
Hit that bell, because you'll be down for that 3 count.
You'll want us in a match.
Yeah, you'll be down for that 3 count. You know what I'm saying? So make sure you hit the subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you can come see us on Wednesday nights. And we'll see you when we see you. Peace out.